Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to create a simple Deno server using a framework called Opine. That framework is very easy and very similar to Express in Node.js. For those of you who worked previously with Express and Node.js, this will be very simple to follow. So let's get started. First of all, I'm going to create a VS Code folder because that folder will contain settings file. So settings JSON, and in that settings file I'm going to just copy and paste some Deno settings, and I'm going to explain that to you. So if you are using Node modules, you will need to tell the TypeScript SDK that you are doing that. So the TypeScript compiler will look into that folder. But since we are not going to use that in this tutorial, then I'm going to get rid of that. Other than that, you are going to tell TypeScript to use the formatter from the Deno plugin, and you need to actually install that Deno plugin, the official Deno plugin for VS Code. It's from Deno land. That's how you know that it's an official plugin. Okay, so install that. It will help you a lot. And you need to tell VS Code to enable that plugin for this project. You need also to use the unstable feature, because if you want to use the linter, then the linter is experimental at this moment of time, and hence you need to tell Deno to enable the unstable features as well. Also, you are going to tell the plugin to use the IntelliSense information from Deno land. Okay, so I'm going to save that, and the project should be actually now initialized. So I'm going to create a file, and I'm going to call it server.ts. Okay, and we are now going to import the Opine framework and the JSON body parser for parsing the requests from, and that will be, I think it's like this. I'm going to copy that. So it's usually when you are going to import a module for Deno, usually it's imported through an HTTP that ends with a module.ts. And to find the documentation for that, I'm going to show you exactly how is that done. You go to Deno land, and in Deno land you have both the standard library, which contains all the official libraries that come with Deno, and there is a lot of useful things: permissions, UUID, identifiers, async, datetime, etc. And you have also third-party modules where you can find for yourself a suitable module that you can use in your project. And in our situation, we are going to use Opine, which is a fast minimalist web framework for Deno ported from Express.js. So as I said, if you have worked with the Express.js before on Node.js, then transferring your knowledge to Opine is very simple. Okay, so I'm going to put that away. So we have imported Opine, we have imported JSON parser, and now we are going to define our application, which is an instance of Opine, like this. And we are going to tell the application to use the JSON body parser. Okay, and after that, I mean, the code is actually very straightforward, exactly like in Express. So you tell the application, you tell the application to use the HTTP methods, and you define them like the same way you define them in Express. Like, for example, you define get, and you tell the function which is the route, and you define a request response objects with the function, which is your callback actually. And basically that's it. I mean, you can console log received a get request. So, and you can also send a JSON response that looks something like that, message, for example, and get received a get request. Okay, and you continue, for example, app I don't know, post. We will be implementing that in a bit. For example, you post the same route, and you have exactly the same. I will copy that. So like this, but it differs only by an ID, for example. Oh no, sorry, that's a post. If I do a put, okay, so I will make a put, and here you need to say that you are modifying something based on its ID. Also app delete. Again, you need to identify which object you are going to delete, and request response. And we will implement that in a bit. Then you tell your application to listen and on which port. And in this case, I don't know, I will be using 5000. I use that from Node.js. So let's test it. Let's test it and see how it will work with the GET request at least. So Deno run, and you will need to allow the net, and you will need to allow reading from files, and you will need to say which file you're going to run. So in that case, we are having the server TS file. So let's see, maybe it will work. Okay, did it work? We'll see. So I'm going to bring a, and let's check that, local host 5000. All right, as you can see, we received a GET request and we received a JSON response as well. So this thing works. I'm going to do now something else a bit. I'm going to stop this. There is a plugin that I highly recommend you use, and that is the REST client plugin. This plugin will allow you to create requests and test them with your server on the fly. I mean, yes, I know that you probably used Postman, for example. Postman is great and all. This is just simple and quicker. You don't need to set up anything. So what I'm going to do is that here I'm going to create a file, and I'm going to call that test HTTP. Okay, and in that test HTTP I'm going to do something like that, get, and I'm going to say to where HTTP localhost 5000, oops, 5000, and HTTP 101. I'm not sure how is that. Yeah. So you need to say in the headers content type application JSON, and that's it for the first request. You separate your requests with triple hashes, and for the post request you do just exactly the same. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to put this here, and here you specify the body of your request. In this case I'm going to say, I don't know, let's say first name John, last name Smith. Okay, and I'm going to create a put request as well. Okay, so put request, yeah, I need to specify the route. So this, and this. I'm going to send, for example, 1, the ID, and I don't know, I'm going to send something like bet type Garfield, bet name, oh, actually it's pet type is fat cat, and pet name is Garfield. Okay, and for the delete request, again I'm going to specify, for example, 2 in this case, and an empty body. Okay, so in this case we are going to continue implementation of the post request here. So received a post request, and what do we have here? Yeah, we are going to use the body of the request, and in this case const body, which is request, and it's parsed body. Parsed body contains the JSON body of the request. So I'm going to put that in in body, and I'm going to send back the body as is. So if you have a front-end client that is expecting JSON, then it will receive the message and the body from the backend. So exactly in the same way, I'm going to do the same with the put. First of all, I'm going to extract the parameter ID, which means ID equals request params ID, and also I'm going to extract the body, which is request parsed body, and I'm going to copy this, put it here. So request received a put request with ID I'll put IDs here and body, and we have body there. So I guess that's okay. For the JSON, I'm going to send again. I'm going to send ID as is and body. And for the delete request, I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going just to extract the ID and I'm going to copy this and delete that. And response JSON, that will be this without the body. Okay, so we don't need this, like that. Okay, so yeah, I think that's it. Okay, let's try that. So Deno run allow net allow read server TS. And now I'm going, instead of using the front end itself, the browser, I'm going just to send the requests from here. So you just click on send request, and you get the response. That's the response from the backend. That's the JSON response. Okay, and as you see, the console also is printing receiving a GET request. Let's try the other methods, the send request, the post request, for example. So, okay, so received a post request, and the body from the front end is first name John, last name Smith, which is okay, not that, which is this. Whoops. Yeah, actually it's from here. This is the body of the post. So I'm sending to the backend this body, and I'm receiving it back. Okay, so let's try, for example, the put. It should print the ID and the body of the request. So we are receiving the ID 1, so it's not displaying this, and I know why. Because here we need JSON. No, not here. Sorry. We need here JSON stringify body. Okay, and I'm going to copy this and put it here as well. Okay, so let's try this again. Right. So again, the GET request is working. The POST request is working again as well. So we see it from the front end and we see it at the console level. The PUT request is working, so we see the ID that we have received, and we see it from the front end as well, being sent back to the front end. And finally we see, oops, that didn't work because I forgot to modify this. Okay. So yep, you cannot just make video tutorials while paying attention to everything. It's just so yeah, let's try it final time. This time it will work and without any problems. Okay, so starting from above. So received GET request, we have a GET request. So we have a POST request, and we have a POST request here. And doing a PUT request, we have a PUT request and a PUT request here. And as you can see here, we have a delete request with the ID, the working ID. So we have the working ID. So as you see, it's very simple to create a REST application backend using Deno, and you don't even have to allocate gigabytes of disk space for Node modules. It's very simple. You just have simple files, and you have your knowledge from Node.js, and you can go and start doing your applications. It's very simple, it's very nice, and it uses TypeScript out of the box. And that concludes this tutorial. Hope to catch you next time.